binding contract with TikTok. So by just using the platform, you're in an agreement with them, whether you read it or not. What if TikTok came to you and was like, give me your kids? If you haven't read TikTok's terms of service, then you don't know what you've agreed to do by upload to the platform. But if you came to this video, that means that you're on TikTok. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go and read the terms of service for you as TikTok has them wrote out, so we can all know what it is that TikTok is getting us to agree with by using the platform. So let's get into it. Oh, go to subscribe to the channel and hit that bell notification. If you like the video, hit the thumbs up also. So let's get into it. All right. Terms of service. All right. If you are a user having your usual residence in the US, last updated February 2019, number one, your relationship with us. Welcome to TikTok, the platform which is provided by TikTok Incorporated in the United States. Collectively, such entities will be referred to as TikTok, we, or us. All right, you are reading the terms of service, the terms which govern the relationship and serve as an agreement between you and us, and set forth the terms and conditions by which you may access and use the platform and our related websites, services, applications, products, and content. Collectively, the services. Access to the certain services or features of the services, such as, by way of example and not limitation, the ability to submit or share user content defined below may be subject to age restrictions and not available to all users of the services. Our services are provided for private, non-commercial use. For purposes of these terms, you and your means you as the user of the service. So in this, when it says you, it's talking about you or me or whoever using it. All right, the terms for a legally binding agreement between you and us, please take the time to read them carefully. If you are under the age of 18, you may only use the service with the consent of your parent or legal guardian. Please be sure your parent or legal guardian has reviewed and discussed these terms with you. Arbitration notice. For users in the United States, these terms contain an arbitration clause and a waiver of rights to bring a class action against us, except for certain types of disputes mentioned in that arbitration clause. You and TikTok agree that disputes between us will be resolved by mandatory binding arbitration, and you and TikTok waive any right to participate in a class action lawsuit or class-wide arbitration. So that means, if I'm not misunderstanding that, that means that you're agreeing that you can't sue them for anything. All right. So number two, we are accepting the terms. Number two, we are accepting the terms. By accessing or using our services, you confirm that you can form a binding contract with TikTok. So by just using the platform, you're in an agreement with them. So you're agreeing. Okay. So you confirm that you can form a binding contract with TikTok, that you accept these terms and that you agree to comply with them. Your access to and use of our services is also subject to our privacy policy and community guidelines, the terms of which can be found directly on the platform or where the platform is made available for download on your mobile devices applicable app store, and are incorporated herein by reference by using the services you consent to the terms of the privacy policy. If you are accessing or using the services on behalf of a business or entity, then you and your includes you and that business or entity. B, you represent and warrant that you are an authorized representative of the business or entity with the authority to bind the entity to these terms, and that you agree to these terms on the entity's behalf. And C, your business or entity is legally and financially responsible for your access or use of the services, as well as for the access or use of your account by others affiliated with your entity, including any employees, agents, or contracts. You can accept the terms by accessing or using our services. You understand and agree that we will treat your access or use of the services as acceptance of the terms from that point onward. You should print off or save a local copy of the terms for your records. All right. 3, changes to the terms. We amend these terms from time to time. For instance, when we update the functionality of our services, when we combine multiple apps or services operated by us or our affiliates into a single combined service or app, or when there are regulatory changes, we will use commercially reasonable efforts to generally notify all users of any material changes to these terms, such as through a notice on our platform. However, you should look at the terms regularly to check for changes. We will also update the last update date at the top of these terms, which reflect the effective date of such terms. Your continued access or use of the services after the date of the new terms constitutes your acceptance of the new terms. If you do not agree to the new terms, you must stop accessing or using the services. Your account with us. To access or use some of our services, you must create an account with us. When you create this account, you must provide accurate and up-to-date information. It is important that you maintain and promptly update your details and any other information you provide to us to keep such information current and complete. It is important that you keep your account password confidential and you do not disclose it to any third party. If you know or suspect that any third party knows your password and has access to your account, you must notify us immediately at da 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 da. All right. You agree that you are solely responsible to us and to others for the activity that occurs under your account. We reserve the right to disable your user account at any time, including if you have failed to comply with any of the provisions of these terms, or if the activities occur on your account which in our sole discretion would or might cause damage to or impair the services or infringe, violate any third-party rights or violate any applicable laws or regulations. If you no longer want to use our services again, and would like your account deleted, contact us at da 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 da. We will provide you with further assistance and guide you through the process. And once you choose to delete your account, you will not be able to reactivate your account or retrieve any of the content or information you have added. It's theirs. They took your content and it's theirs now. Okay. 5, your access to and use of our services. Your access to and use of our services is subject to these terms and all applicable laws and regulations. You may not access or use the services if you are not fully able to legally competent. If you are not fully able and legally competent to agree to the terms or are authorized to use the services by your parent or legal guardian. Make unauthorized copies, modify, adapt, translate, reverse engineer, disassemble, decompile, or create any derivative works of the services or any content included therein, including any files, tables, or documentation, or any portion thereof, or determine or attempt to determine any source code, algorithms, methods, or techniques embodied by the services or any derivative works thereof. All right, distribute, license, transfer, or sell in whole or in part any of the services or the derivative works thereof, market, rent, or lease the services for a fee or charge, or use the services to advertise or perform any commercial solicitation, use the services without our express written consent for any commercial or unauthorized purpose, including communication or facilitating any commercial advertisement or solicitation or spamming, interfere with or attempt to interfere with the proper working of the services, disrupt our website or any networks connected to the services, or bypass any measures we may use to prevent or restrict access to the services. You may not incorporate the services or any proportion thereof into any other program or product. In such case, we reserve the right to refuse service, terminate accounts, or limit access to the services in our sole discretion. You may not use automated scripts to collect information from or otherwise interact with the services, impersonate any person or entity, or falsify, state, or otherwise misrepresent you or your affiliation with any person or entity, including giving the impression that any content you upload, post, transmit, dispute, or otherwise make available emanates from the services. Intimidate or harass another or promote sexually explicit material, violence, or discrimination based on race, sex, religion, nationality, disability, sexual orientation, or age. Use or attempt to use another's account, service, or system without authorization from TikTok. They didn't spell authorization right, or maybe it is. I'm just been reading too much and I don't know. From TikTok, or create a false identity on the services. Use the services in a manner that may create or a conflict or interest or undermine the purposes of the services, such as trading reviews with other users or writing a soliciting fake reviews. Use the service to upload, transmit, distribute, store, or otherwise make available in any way files that contain viruses, trojans, worms, logic bombs, or other material that is malicious or technologically harmful. Any unsolicited or unauthorized advertising, solicitation, promotional materials, junk mail, spam, chain letters, pyramid schemes, or any other prohibited from form of solicitation. Any private information or any third party, including addresses, phone numbers, email addresses, numbers, and feature in the personal entity document, national insurance numbers, passport numbers, or credit card numbers. Any material which does or have infringed any copyright, trademark, or other intellectual property or privacy rights of any other person. Any material which is defamatory or of any person, obscene, offensive, pornographic, hateful, or inflammatory. Any material that would constitute, encourage, or provide instructions for a criminal offense, dangerous activities, or self-harm. Okay. Any material that is deliberately designed to provoke or antagonize people, especially trolling and bullying, or is intended to harass, harm, hurt, scare, distress, embarrass, or upset people. Okay. Any material that contains threat of any kind, including threats of physical violence. Any material that is racist or discriminatory, including discrimination on the basis of someone's race, religion, age, gender, disability, or sexuality. Any answers, responses, comments, opinions, analysis, or recommendations that you are not properly licensed or otherwise qualified to provide. Okay. Material that, in the sole judgment of TikTok, is objectionable, or which restricts or inhibits any other person from using the services, or which may expose TikTok, the services, or its users to any harm or liability of any type. In addition to the above, your access to and use of the services must at all times be compliant with our community guidelines. We reserve the right at any time and without prior notice to remove or disable access to content at our discretion for any reason or no reason. Some of the reasons we may remove or disable access to content may include finding the content objectionable, in violation of the terms or community policy, or otherwise harmful to the services or our users. Our automated service systems analyze your content, including emails, to provide you personally relevant product features such as customized search results, tailored advertising, and spam and malware detection. This analysis occurs as the content is sent, received, and when it is stored. Intellectual property rights. We respect intellectual property rights and ask you to do the same. As a condition of your access to and use of the service, you agree to the terms of the copyright policy. Content. As between you and TikTok, all content, software, images, text, graphs, illustrations, logos, patents, trademarks, service marks, copyright, photographs, audio, videos, music, and music on and look and feel of the services and all intellectual property rights related thereto the TikTok content are either owned or licensed by TikTok. It being understood that you and your licensor will own any user content as defined below. You upload or transmit through the services. Use the TikTok content or materials on the services for any purpose not expressly permitted by the terms is strictly prohibited. Such content may not be downloaded, copied, reproduced, distributed, transmitted, broadcast, displayed, sold, licensed, or otherwise exploited for any purpose whatsoever without our or where applicable or our licensors prior written consent. We and our licensors reserve all rights not expressly granted in and to their content. You acknowledge and agree that we may generate revenues, increase goodwill, and otherwise increase our value from your use of the services, including by way of example and not limitation through the sale of advertising, sponsorships, promotions, usage data, and gifts defined below, and except as specifically permitted by us in these terms or in any or in another agreement you enter into with us. You will have no right to share in any such revenue, goodwill, or value whatsoever. You further acknowledge that, except as specifically permitted by us in the terms or in another agreement you enter into with us, I have no right to receive any income or other consideration for any user content defined below, or your use of any musical works, sound recordings, or audiovisual clips made available to you on or through the services, including in any user content created by you. And two, are prohibited from exercising any rights to monetize or obtain consideration from any user content within the services or on any third party services. E.g., you cannot claim user content that has been uploaded to a social media platform such as YouTube for monetization. Let's read that again because that's important. Okay, you cannot claim user content that has been uploaded to a social media platform such as YouTube for monetization. Okay, subject to the terms and conditions of the terms, you are hereby granted a non-exclusive, limited, non-transferable, sub-licensable, revocable, worldwide license to access and use the services, including to download the platform on a permitted device and to access the TikTok content solely for your personal, non-commercial use through your use of the services and solely in compliance with these terms. TikTok reserves all rights not expressly granted herein in the services and the TikTok content. You acknowledge and agree that TikTok may terminate this license at any time for any reasons or no reason. Let's read that again, okay? Because that was kind of strange. All right, you acknowledge and agree that TikTok may terminate this license at any time for any reason or for no reason. So they can just terminate your license for no reason at all and just quit. All right, so no rights are licensed with respect to sound recordings and the musical works embodied therein that are made available from or through the service. No rights are licensed with respect to sound recording. Okay, you acknowledge and agree that when you view content provided by others on the services, you are doing so at your own risk. The content on our services is provided for general information only. It is not intended to amount to advice on which you should rely. You must obtain professional or specialist advice before taking or refraining from any action on the basis of the content on our services. We make no representations, warranties, or guarantees, whether express or imply, that any TikTok content including user content is accurate, complete, or up to date. When our services contain links to other sites and resources provided by third parties, these links are provided for for your information only. We have no control over the contents of those sites or resources. Such links should not be interpreted as approval by us or those linked websites or information you may obtain from them. You acknowledge that we have no obligation to pre-screen, monitor, review, or edit any content posted by you and other users on the services, including user content. So if somebody was to go in and like put a link into a story or something, and that link carries you over to somewhere, and something happens like a virus or something, they're basically, you're agreeing that they're not liable, and they don't have to like check out any of the stuff to make sure any of it is good. All right, so user generated content. Users of the services may be permitted to upload, post, or transmit, such as via a stream or otherwise make available content through the services, including without limitation any text, photographs, users, videos, sound recordings, and the musical works embodied therein, including videos that incorporate locally stored sound recordings from your personal music library and ambient noise user content. Users of the services may also extract all or any portion of user content created by another user to produce additional user content, including collaborative user content with other users that combine and intersperse user content generated by more than one user. Users of the services may also overlay music, graphics, stickers, virtual items, and define and further explain virtual items policy and other elements provided by by TikTok elements onto this user content and transmit this user's content through the services. The information and material in the user content, including user content that includes TikTok elements, have not been verified or approved by us. The views expressed by other users on the services, including through use of the virtual gifts, do not represent our views or values. Whenever you access or use a feature that allows you to upload or transmit user content through the services, including via third-party social media platforms such as Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, or to make contact with other users of the services, you must comply with the standards set out at your access to and use of our services above. You may also choose to upload or transmit your user content, including user content that includes TikTok elements, on sites or platforms hosted by third parties. If you decide to do this, you must comply with their content guidelines as well as with the standards set out at your access to use of our services above. As noted above, the features may not be available to all users or the services, and we have no liability to you for limiting your right to certain features of the services. You warrant that any such contribution does comply with those standards, and you will be liable to use and indemnify us for any breach of that warranty. This means you will be responsible for any loss or damage we suffer as a result of your breach of warranty. Any user's content will be considered non-confidential and non-proprietary. You must not post any user content on or through the services or transmit to us any user content that you consider to be confidential or proprietary. When you submit user content through the services, you agree to represent that you own the user content, or you have received all necessary permissions, clearances from, or are authorized by the owner of any part of the content to submit to the services, to transmit it from the services to others, third-party platforms, and or adopt any third-party content. If you only own the rights in and to a sound recording, but not the underlying musical works embodied in such sound recordings, then you must not post such sound recordings to the services unless you have all permissions, clearances from, or are authorized by the owner of any of part of the content to submit it to services. You and your owner you and the owner of the user content still own the copyright in the user content sent to us, but by submitting user content via the services, you hereby grant us an unconditional, irrevocable, non-exclusive, royalty-free, fully transferable, perpetual worldwide license to use, modify, adapt, reproduce, make derivative works of, publish, and or transmit and or distribute, and to authorize other users of the services and other third parties to view, access, use, download, modify, adapt, reproduce, make derivative works of, publish, and or transmit your user content in any format and on any platform, either now known or hereafter invented. You further grant us a royalty-free license to use your username, image, voice, or likeness to identify you as the source of any of your user content, provided, however, that your ability to provide an image, voice, and likeness may be subject to limitations due to age restrictions. For the avoidance of doubt, the right granted in the preceding paragraphs of this section include, but are not limited to, the right to reproduce sound recordings and make mechanical reproductions of the musical works embodied in such recordings, and publicly perform and communicate to the public sound recordings and the musical works embodied therein, all on a royalty-free basis. This means that you are granting us the right to use your user content without the obligation to pay royalties to any third party, including but not limited to a sound recording copyright owner, a recording label, a music work copyright owner, a music publisher, a performing rights organization, a sound recording pro, and sound exchange, any union or guilds and engineers, producers, or other royalty participants involved in the creation of user content. Specific rules for musical works and for music and for recording artists. If you are a composer or author of a musical work and are affiliated with a pro, then you must notify your pro of the royalty-free license you grant through these terms in your user content to us. You are solely responsible for ensuring your compliance with the relevant pros reporting obligation. If you have assigned your rights to a music publisher, then you must obtain the consent of such music publisher to grant the royalty-free license set forth in these terms in your user content, or have such music publisher enter into these terms with us. Just because you authored a musical work, wrote a song, does not mean you have the right to grant us the licenses and responsible then you are licenses in these terms. If you are a recording artist under contract with a recording label, then you are solely responsible for ensuring that your use of the services is in compliance with any contractual obligations you may have to your label, including you create any new recordings through the services that may be claimed by your label. So if you are on a label and you put something on TikTok, TikTok is basically saying that they cannot be sued by your label, that it's going to be solely on you because you didn't read these and you did it anyways. So through to the audience rights. All right, all of the rights you grant in your user content in these terms are provided on a through to the audience basis, meaning the owners or operators of the third party services will not have any separate liability to you or any other third party or user content posted or used on such third party services via the services. Waiver of rights to user content. By posting user content to or through the services, you waive any rights to prior inspection or approval of any marketing or promotional materials related to such user content. You also waive any and all rights of privacy, publicity, or any other rights of a similar nature in connection with your user content or any portion thereof. To the extent any moral rights are not transferable or assignable, you hereby waive it and agree never to assert any and all moral rights or to support, maintain, or permit any action based on any moral rights that you may have in or with respect to any user content you post or through the services. We also have the right to disclose your identity to any third party who is claiming that any user content posted or uploaded by you to our services constitute a violation of their intellectual property rights or of their right to privacy. We or authorized parties reserve the right to cut, crop, edit, or refuse to publish your content to our or their sole discretion. We have the right to remove, disallow, block, or delete any posting you make on our service if, in our opinion, your post does not comply with the content standards set out at your access to and use of our services above. In addition, we have the right but not the obligation in our sole discretion to remove, disallow, block, or delete any user content, one, that we consider to violate these terms, or two, in response to complaints from other users or third parties with or without notice and without any liability to you. As a result, we could recommend that you save copies of any user content that you post to the services on your personal devices in the event that you want to use that want to you no want to ensure that you have permanent access to copies of such user content. We do not guarantee the accuracy, integrity, appropriateness, or quality of any user content, and under no circumstances will we be liable in any way for any user content. So they're not liable for any content. You control whether your user content is made publicly available on the services to all other users of the services or only available to people you approve. To restrict access to your user content, you should select the privacy settings available within the platform. We accept no liability in respect of any content submitted by users and published by us or by authorized third parties. If you wish to file a complaint about information or materials uploaded by other users, contact us at da 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 da. Okay. TikTok takes reasonable measures to expeditiously remove from our services any infringing material that we become aware of. It is TikTok's policy, in appropriate circumstances and at its discretion, to disable or terminate the accounts of users of the services who repeatedly infringe copyrights or including or intellectual property rights of others. While our own staff is continually working to develop and evaluate our own product ideas and features, we pride ourselves on paying close attention to the interest, feedback, comments, and suggestions we receive from our user community. If you choose to contribute by sending us or our employees any ideas for products, services, features, modifications, enhancements, content, refinements, technologies, content offering, such as audio, visual, games, and other types of content, promotion strategies, or product feature name, or any related documentation, artwork, computer code, diagrams, or other materials, collectively feedback, then regardless of what your accompanying communication may say, the following terms will apply so that future misunderstandings can be avoided. Accordingly, by sending feedback to us, you agree that TikTok has no obligation to review, consider, or implement your feedback, or to return to you all or part of any feedback for any reason. Feedback is provided on a non-confidential basis, and we are not under any obligation to keep any feedback you send confidential or to refrain from using or disclosing it in any way. And your irrevocably grant us perpetual and unlimited permission to reproduce, distribute, create derivative works of, modify, publicly perform, including on a through to the audience basis, communicate to the public, make available publicly display and otherwise use and exploit the feedback and derivatives thereof for any purpose and without restriction, free of charge and without attribution of any kind, including by making, using, selling, offering for sale, importing, and promoting commercial products and services that incorporate or embody feedback, whether in whole or in part, or and whether as provided or as modified. Number 8, indemnity. You agree to defend, indemnify, and hold harmless TikTok, its parents, subsidiaries, and affiliates, and each of their respective officers, directors, employees, agents, and advisors from any and all claims, liabilities, costs, and expenses, including but not limited to attorneys' fees and expenses arising out of a breach by you or any user of your account of these terms, or arising out of a breach of our obligations, representation, and warranties under these terms. So, in all, you're not suing TikTok. Like, you're not. It's not going to happen. This, you agreed to it. All right. Number 9, exclusions of warranties. Nothing in these terms shall affect any statutory rights that you cannot contractually agree to alter or waive, and we are legally always entitled to as a consumer. The services are provided as is, and we make no warranty or representation to you with respect to them. In particular, we do not represent or warrant to you that you use your use of the services will meet your requirements. Your use of the services will be interrupted, timely, secure, or free from error. Any information obtained by you as a result of your use of the services will be accurate or reliable. Defects in the operation or functionality of any software provided to you as part of the services will be corrected. No conditions, warranties, or other terms, including any implied terms as to satisfactory quality, fitness for purpose, or conformance with description, apply to the services except to the extent that they are expressly set out in the terms. We may change, suspend, withdraw, or restrict the availability of all or any part of our platform for businesses and operational reasons at any time without notice. 10, limitation of liability. Nothing in the terms shall include or limit our liability for losses which may not be lawfully excluded or limited by applicable law. This includes liability for death or personal injury caused by our negligence or the negligence of our employees, agents, or subcontractors, and for fraud or fraudulent misrepresentation. Subject to the paragraph above, we shall not be liable to you for any loss of profit, whether incurred directly or indirectly, any loss of goodwill, any loss of opportunity, any loss of data suffered by you, or any indirect or consequential losses which may be incurred by you. Any other loss will be limited to the amount paid by you to TikTok within the last 12 months. Any loss or damage which may be incurred by you as a result of any reliance placed by you on the completeness, accuracy, or existence of any advertising, or as a result of any relationship or transaction between you and the advertisers or sponsor, any changes which we may make to the services, or for any permanent or temporary cessations in the provisions of the services, or any features within the services, the deletion of, corruption of, or failure to store any content and any communications data maintained or transmitted by or through your use of the services, your failure to provide us with accurate account information, or your failure to keep your password or account details secure and confidential. Please note that we only provide our platform for domestic and private use. You agree not to use our platform for any commercial or business purposes, and we have no liability to you for any loss of profits, loss of business, loss of goodwill or business reputation, business interruption, or loss of business opportunity. If defective digital content that we have supplied damages a device or digital content belonging to you, and this is caused by our failure to use reasonable care and skill, we will either repair the damage or pay you compensation. However, we will not be liable for damage that you could have avoided by following our advice to apply an update offered to you free and of charge, and or the damage that was caused by you failing to correctly follow the installation instructions or to have in place the minimum system requirements advised by us. These limitations on our liability to you shall apply whether or not you have been advised or should have been aware of the possibility of such losses. So it don't matter if you know or not. You're liable to everything. You are responsible for any mobile change charges that may apply to your use of your service, including text messages and data charges. If you're unsure what those charges may be, you should ask your service provider before using the service. To the fullest extent permitted by law, any dispute you have with any third party arising out of your use of the services, including by way of example and not limitation, and any carrier, copyright owner, or other user, is directly between you and such third party, and you irrevocably release us and our affiliates from any and all claims, demands, and damages, actually and consequential of every kind and nature, known and unknown, arising out of any way connected with such disputes. Okay. 11. Other terms. Open source. The platform contains certain open source software. Each item of open source software is subject to its own applicable license terms, which can be found at open source policy. Entire agreement. These terms constitute the whole legal agreement between you and TikTok and govern your use of the services and completely replace any prior agreements between you and TikTok in relation to the services. Links. You may link our homepage, provide you do so in a way that is fair and legal and does not damage our reputation or take advantage of it. You must establish a link in such a way as to suggest any form of association, approval, or endorsement on our part where none exists. You must not establish a link to our services in any website that is not owned by you. The website in which you are linking must comply in all respects with the content standards set out at your access to and use of our services above. We reserve the right to withdraw linking permission without notice. No waiver. Our failure to insist upon or enforce any provision to these terms shall not be construed as a waiver of any provision or right. Security. We do not guarantee that our services will be secure or free from bugs or viruses. You are responsible for configuring your information technology, computer programs, and platform to access our services. You should use your own virus protection software. Severability. If any court of law having jurisdiction to decide on this matter rules that any provision of these terms is invalid, then that provision will be removed from the terms without affecting the rest of the terms, and the remaining provisions of the terms will continue to be valid and enforceable. Arbitration and class action waiver. I thought they already did this, but let's do it again. This section includes an arbitration agreement and an agreement that all claims will be brought only in an individual capacity and not as a class action or other representative proceeding. Please read it carefully. You may opt out of the arbitration agreement by following the opt-out procedure described below. Informal process. First, you agree that in the event of any dispute between you and TikTok, you will first contact TikTok and make a good faith, sustained effort to resolve the dispute before resorting to more formal means of resolution, including without limitation any court action. Let me explain this real quick. My understanding of this is if you don't read this right here and you do go and try to file some type of lawsuit towards them, if you didn't go to TikTok and notify them and try to figure it out first, then at that point your this clause makes your litigation no good. So it's good to know this right here. If you are in that situation where you had to take TikTok to court. Arbitration agreement. After informal dispute resolution process, any remaining disputes, controversy, or collectively claim relating in any way to your use of TikTok, use of TikTok or any other user of the service will be finally resolved by binding arbitration. This mandatory arbitration agreement applies equally to you and TikTok. However, this arbitration agreement does not govern any claim by TikTok for infringement of its intellectual property or access to the services that is unauthorized or exceeds authorization granted in these terms, or B, bar you from making use of applicable small claims court procedures in appropriate cases. If you are an individual, you may opt out of this arbitration agreement within 30 days of the first of the date you access or use the services by following the procedures described below. You will agree that the U.S. Federal Arbitration Act governs the interpretation and enforcement of this provision, and that you and TikTok are each waiving the right to a trial by jury or to participate in a class action. This arbitration provision will survive any termination of these terms. If you wish to begin an arbitration proceeding after following the informal dispute resolution procedure, you must send a letter requesting arbitration and describing your claim to. It's getting hot in here, so I'm going to take this off so we can finish. Okay, and this is where you send it to at email address Okay, so now this is all about arbitration. I'm going to skip all this. Yeah, because this is just not important. All right, class action waiver. Class action waiver. Any claim must be brought in the respective parties' individual capacity and not as a plaintiff or class member in any purported class, collective, representative, multiple plaintiff, or similar proceeding. Class action. The parties expressly waive any ability to maintain any class action in any form. In the claim is subject to arbitration, the arbitrator will not have authority to combine or aggregate similar claims or conduct any class action, nor make an award to any person or entity not a party to the arbitration. Any claim that all or part of this class action waiver is enforceable, unconscionable, void, or voidable may be determined only by a court of competent jurisdiction and not by an arbitrator. The parties understand that any right to litigate in court, to have a judge or jury decide their case, or to be party to a class or representative action, or is waived, and that any claims must be decided individually through arbitration. If this class action waiver is found to be unenforceable, then the entirety of the arbitration agreement, if otherwise effective, will be null and void. The arbitrator may award declaratory or injunctive relief only in favor of the individual party seeking relief, and only to the extent necessary to provide relief warranted by that party's individual claim. If for any reason a claim proceeds in court rather than in arbitration, you and TikTok each waive any right to a jury trial. If a counter notice is received by TikTok's copyright agent, we may send a copy of the counter notice to the original complaining party informing that person that we may replace the removed content or cease disabling it unless the original complaining party files an action seeking a court order against the content provider, member, or user. The removed content may be replaced or access to it restored in 10 business days or more after receipt of the counter notice at TikTok sole discretion. Please understand that filing a counter notification may lead to a legal proceedings between you and the complaining party to determine ownership. Be aware that there may be adverse legal consequences in your country if you make a false or bad faith allegation by using this process. California consumer right under California code such and such and such and such. California users the services receive the following specific consumer rights notice. The complaint assistance unit of the Division of Consumer Services of the California Department of Consumer Affairs may be contacted in writing at the contact. Users of the service who are California residents and are under 18 years of age may request and obtain removal of user content they posted by contacting us at da 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 da. All requests must be labeled California removal request on the email subject line. All requests must provide a description of the user content you want removed and information reasonably sufficient to permit us to locate that user content. We do not accept California removal requests via postal mail, telephone, or whatever. We are not responsible for notices that are not labeled or sent properly, and we may not be able to respond if you do not provide adequate information. Exports. You agreed that you will not export or re-export directly or indirectly the services and or other information or materials provided by TikTok hereunder to any country for which the United States or any other relevant jurisdiction requires any export license or other governmental approval at the time of the export without first obtaining such license or approval. In particular, but without limitation, the services may not be exported or re-exported, into any U.S. embargoed countries or any country that has been designated by the U.S. government as a terrorist supporting country, or B, to anyone listed on any U.S. government list of prohibited or restricted parties, including the U.S. Treasury Department's list of specifically designated nationals, or the U.S. Department of Commerce denied persons list of entity lists, U.S. government restricted rights. The services and related documentation are commercial items, as that term is defined in consisting of commercial computer software and commercial computer software documentation. Such terms are used in and as applicable. Consent with or through as applicable. The commercial computer software and commercial computer software documentation are being licensed to U.S. government and end users, A, only as commercial items, and B, with only those rights as are granted to all other end users pursuant to the terms and conditions herein. I gather from the terms of service, and I'm not in any way, shape, or form an attorney, and this is not legal advice, but what I do get from this after reading this is simply this: when you upload content to TikTok, it's owned by TikTok. You're not supposed to use TikTok in any type of way to try to make any type of money. You're not supposed to use TikTok for any type of business activities or whatever. But as you see, TikTok pretty much lets you get away with any of it. TikTok is one of the fastest growing platforms that you can grow organically. It's relatively new, so there is a lot of things that is going to change in the app over time, but it is a really good app to use. And knowing the terms of service is very important because you never know what's going to happen down the line and what you're going to need as far as if you're going to have to go through any type of litigation, or if you're going to get kicked off of the platform for whatever, and you have to argue any type of anything, you need to know what's in the terms of service. And a lot of times people don't read the terms of service until something happens. So I just made this video so that you can be riding around or doing whatever you're doing and listen or watch or whatever to the terms of service so that you can get it. And I hope it was helpful. But until next time, stay tuned, but peace.